dais as the moderator. And last time, both of us did exceed the time limit in OGT conference. And the chairman has already said that the time limit is going to be 6 o'clock. And then you have a student from the third batch, third batch, who has done outstanding work in his field, and a long-time buddy, Ram, putting together the show. I think I cannot but be part of this, and I'm so glad that I'm here today. I'm really pleased that OGTC continues to tread this path and bring the industry together, and I make compliments to the organizers. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are living in what we now call the new normal times. The new normal is a word which is now quite accepted in at least the business circles when you attend any conference. Because this new normal is about change, accepting constant change as the new normal. There was a period of great stability, and that period is over. And mentally you need to accept that constant change is going to be the new normal, and accelerated change is that even more normal than it was in the past. And apparel exports from India, as it moves along, needs to understand this paradigm, and how are we going to shape up or ship out in this context. Well, Rajesh has, sort of classified me as a marketing guru. But a large part of my last 10 years, I spent on innovation design because I was heading NID Ahmedabad, and my job was to help people innovate. And of course, that is something which I am searching to find out in the apparel industry who are all really innovating and who are all moving in towards the trajectory of brand building. I will not make any answers now, it is for the audience to decide, but I would just take you through a few things to make you understand the context of this new normal. And I'm sure that you all read Textile Outlook International, and the August issue is a very good read. They talk about the UK textile industry at one point claiming that by breakfast of a Monday morning, UK would have produced the textiles required by the entire UK population, and the rest of the week would be spent in producing what is required by the whole world. But then, as we know, that is no more the case. And I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to go to Paris, where the steel mills were there. It is no more the case that the steel industry of the French steel industry is surviving. It has also disappeared, with only now ArcelorMittal's steel replacing some of them. And world over, manufacturing is moving to where the costs reside. This is now accepted. So what is the option if a country loses its competitiveness in cost? And there is enough evidence to show that we are definitely on cost 2.6 or 2.7 times more than Bangladesh and many other countries. If you have on that parameters, if you look at, we are getting really out of the race in terms of cost. And there is also a new phenomenon called strategic sourcing, which is becoming the key word for Western buyers, which is different from the period of that orderly days, when you could look at tactical relationships. Tactical relationships have been replaced by and large with strategic relationships. One major change in the new normal. Basics are definitely going to China, Bangladesh, and Vietnam. And fashions, because the new agreements, several of these agreements were there earlier also, but I was reading about this new agreement with Central America, which is the El Salvador and Honduras. Probably Ram will throw more light about how it is working. But the fashions are moving to such places because of those agreements, because of the logistics, because of various issues which are involved in getting those fast fashions in time. We know that Zara and H&M have completely reoriented this entire business because of their influence on fast fashions. And some of the brands are as much as changing everything in 15 days. So obviously the time has become a major compressed phenomenon. Technology integration at every level. And sometimes I wonder that India is considered to be an IT leader, but we have not been able to integrate IT in the apparel industry or textile industry as much as we would have decided. To my best understanding, the IT integration, except for payroll and tally kind of usages, which is the very rudimentary level of IT, the IT integration, all this told, would be less than 15% in the apparel business. The same case was when we were looking at automobile. Unfortunately, Indian car makers were not really using the Indian IT knowledge in making electronic and more contemporary cars. This was the same case. I don't know where this dichotomy is there. Multi-channel sales. We are still oriented towards certain channels, and we have not broken into some of the new channels. It is not to say that everything is in hopeless situation. The big ones are getting bigger, and there are a number of names which are there. And some people, even within the industry, are amazed with the strategic steps taken by Bombay Rayon and the kind of impact those strategies are making. There is definitely a compliance game, which, of course, the biggies are more tuned to succeed because they are able to amortize the costs on larger number of units. And the shorter version of production manufacturing setups are unable to necessarily cope with the costs of such enormous compliance costs which are building up. Rest then there is always, I have never seen any particular delegation really not asking something from the government. We still depend a great deal on government, and probably it is a good thing that the governments have been generous. There is a lot of lessons from history which we need to remember sometime so that we are able to understand what will happen to this industry if it goes on the same trajectory. When I took over as director of NID in 2000, early 2000, I was looking through the statistics. There were 189 textile mills in Ahmedabad. When I joined, there were about 15 of them in 2000. By the time I was leaving, end of 2008, beginning of 2009, there were hardly 4. And we have lost, for example, denim. I was just reading that Aravind has been pushed down to 6th position, and Pakistani manufacturers have risen to number 4 position. Now, you can imagine the kind of structural changes which are happening, and apparel industry never be under the impression that this won't happen to us. What exactly happened to textile? Would happen to us. The malls are the transformation of the mills. Just the spelling changed, but everything changed in Mumbai. Mills have been transformed to malls. Garment factories in Okhla have become BPO setups. Some of them have moved to Gurgaon. From there, they are moving to Manesar. From there to Alwar and beyond. Searching for what? Searching for that extra penny to survive in this industry. There is, I was looking through UBT, underbed trimmers transformation in the last few years. The underbed trimmers adoption of technology in Bangladesh, if I can go by the statistics provided by my dear friend Rajesh, it is far ahead, both in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, ahead of India. Indian UBT adoption has been less than 20% or 30%. And total offtake of 85,000 crore of tough money which was given, only 5% has been taken by apparel industry in the last 7 years. So what was our preparation level after 2005? when we were supposed to take on the world, and we believed that when quotas go away, all the orders will come to us. I understand that China has crossed 140 billion against India's 11 billion, or struggling to get 11 billion. Obviously, we have a lot to do, a lot to think about. Where the whole theme of this conference is about differentiating edge. We must understand what are the differentiating edge of competing suppliers. If you need to build in, what is the differentiating edge for our country? I have not made a thorough study of this. Rajesh travels to Bangladesh. Yesterday also he was in Dhaka. He should be able to tell you more. Ram is in every part of the world. But from what I understand, I've tried to put together. I remember going to Sri Lanka quite often earlier. They have positioned ethical business and manufacturing practice as an important positioning of their strategy. Eco-manufacturing has been top of their agenda, and so on. Each one has taken a positioning. And in summary, can you actually look at, if you want to create a brand, what is that positioning India is taking? Is it supplier of high fashions for the best brands in the world? Is it the shortest possible time supplier? Is it the highly technologically integrated vertical supplies? Is it a fiber to fashion orientation? What exactly is that positioning? Of course, the bell has come, so it is always a pleasure to hear this bell. Yes, thank you. Because it will allow me to conclude faster. Traditional clusters are wearing out. New suppliers are not finding enough legroom or headroom. Both are not available for them to stay in the business because they have not had money really made in the past. Now to make money is tough. Old suppliers, there are a large number of inefficiencies and maybe lack of orders which would help them to really get margins. There are a number of macro issues which we need to really look at if you want to move forward. The strategic link of clusters. If you look at the government of India, they have announced 40 clusters and 7 mega clusters. None of them talking to each other, and I'm glad that government of India is talking about setting up a skill exchange and also making these clusters more amenable to technology. There is really no pre-competitive collaboration in India, not even on skill development as of now. Spinning, weaving, processing, apparel value chain is fragmented. They don't talk to each other. There is very little investment, less than 1% on R&D, hardly any design and innovation. And Ram was telling me a speech made in Los Angeles recently by the chairman of Oxford Clothing, where he said that, what is China? China is a country of duplicators and India is innovators. But we must ask this question, are we really innovating? Are we really investing in the kind of research we should be doing? Are we really using technologies like TUCATX, EFIT? Are we in that chain of those designers who are selling fitted garments using this technology? How much is our adoption of these technologies? And we should look at where are we in terms of fashion, specialized garments, technical performance, etc. I've already talked about today the scale requires tremendous amount of investment in technology. And if you are behind this in game, God forbid, I narrated the situation of the textile industry earlier. One of the things which Devanshu said in passing about HR, I would like to underline and place in focus as a summary of my presentation. The earlier times you could afford. I went recently to Tirupur. There was a doyens of industry on the dais. I thought that there must be about 10% of the people who must be trained in merchandising out of 55 people who were sitting before us. I asked them a question, can you raise your hands, those who have had any kind of professional input in merchandising, even for 3 days or 5 days in this audience? I was amazed that not a single hand went up. This was shocking to me because I left fashion industry, so to say, at that point when I left to NID in 2000. We were producing merchandisers in large numbers. But how come they're not in the industry? Where are they? So it becomes a problem when you are HR level, and recently one of our colleagues did a in-company workshop, I don't want to name the company. They asked the 80 people, how many of them have traveled abroad? Only one to Hong Kong, the other to China for some fabric sourcing. Nobody else, anywhere else. Now, if that is how we are going to proceed with HR, there is very little scope. We have a big challenge on skills. A person working on 500 RPM machine compared to a person who has to work on 4,500 to 5,000 RPM machine is a very different ball game. We are not able to understand that today the acute labor shortage, which we prided ourselves little while earlier as a country with a bulge of abundant labor, today craving for those people to come across and take up a job. They are not there. And even those who are there, they do not have the skills. I was told by the managing director of Marina Fashions in Kannur that earlier they used to do dexterity test and pegboard test and this and that. Today they just look at whether both the limbs are there, both the arms and both the legs. That is about it. Now, if that is the situation, we have a lot to do. We are just about to launch skills for manufacturing of apparel through research and training. The biggest, most ambitious skill development project the Government of India has ever undertaken. I'm very happy that ATDC is a part of that massive venture which we are going to launch on October 8th at Egmore in Chennai with the first smart center being inaugurated. We have a target of 170,000 people in the next 2 years. And we hope human resource development gets the attention it deserves. So to conclude, innovation is not just a word. It is about investment and an attitude. It is about how you are going to look at skilling the hands and innovating the minds. If you do not have a purposeful strategy for innovating the minds, you cannot innovate as a company. If you do not have a purposeful policy towards skilling the hands, you will not have the kind of technological advancement along with the machinery, human-man-machine system in place to take on the challenge. I am still an optimist. I do not want the textile industry's fate to fall on the apparel sector. Therefore, I would urge those who are in this business to really gear up and change the paradigm and believe in being new normal. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, everybody.